Okay. Um, so guys, good afternoon. We're here live from the Youth Assembly at the United Nations in New York at the UN headquarters. And I have here with me Isatou Jeng.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry if I murdered the name.
It's alright, you got it correct.
Okay, so I'm here with Isatou Jeng, and she's a survivor of female genital mutilation, and she'll be sharing her story. Stories are meant to impact and inspire and then cause changes, also positive changes. So I'm here with Isatou. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for agreeing to this interview. I know it's a very brave thing to do. Being able to speak out and tell your story, especially a story such as yours. So I'm very grateful for having you here. To welcome. So kindly tell us a bit about you.
Thank you, Peter, for having me. Hello, viewers. My name is Isatou Jeng. I call myself the elegant feminist. I am from West Africa, the Gambia. Like Peter said, I called myself a survivor. But I will start with this quote. They will say, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. No matter how rough the road might be, no matter how challenging life could be, there is always light at the end of the tunnel. Just be dedicated, just be committed, just be determined. God will always see you through. Peter, like you said, I'm a survivor of FGM. I'm a survivor of lots of things. Like I got pregnant when I was 15, wow. And we all know how that feels like getting a baby out of wedlock in an African country like the Gambia. The patriarchal norms and all other odds surrounding you as a young girl, and then the society telling you that the future doesn't hold anything bright for you since you have chosen that path of life. But then, as a very strong woman, I always love to demystify misconceptions surrounding my identity as a woman, as a girl at that time. I always said to myself, no matter what the obstacles, I will see myself through, and I will make sure I achieve my dreams. I'll make sure I realize my fullest potential, and nothing is going to, stop me from doing that. And this is exactly what I did. But I think, Peter, the most interesting thing about my story is, and I always tell people this, and I always tell parents this, I was lucky, and I am still lucky, that I have a mother who is very caring. Like, she gave me all the moral support I needed at that time. Like, she gave me everything I needed to be strong, to be where I am today. Like, she supported me from start, from scratch up to date, and she's still supporting me. And that's very important. When someone falls down in life, he or she needs someone to hold his or her hands.
This is fun. So
Peter, like I was saying,
yeah.
The issue of moral support, and this is what kept me going. Like, we always need someone there to tell us that you can do it, no matter what. So it's very difficult to survive female genital mutilation. Not many people feel comfortable to talk about issues relating to sex and sexuality, and female genital mutilation definitely affects the sexual and reproductive health rights of women and girls, and I've been through it. And during childbirth, I've seen its devastating consequences, how it affected me as a woman. So it's always...
Could you talk a bit more about how it affected you as a woman?
Yeah, because, Peter, the number one target during FGM is the clitoris. Yeah. And we all know the importance of the clitoris during reproduction, yeah. During childbirth. It helps the orifice to expand for the baby's head to come out. It helps the orifice to stretch itself so that the baby's head will come out. And if that's absent, that elasticity is not there to help the orifice to stretch, and as a result, what it results to is going through what we call episiotomology, like having to tear your vagina so that the baby's head can come, and we all know how devastating that can be. So I've been through that. But how many of young women and women out there are willing to share that experience of theirs. So people like me took it upon ourselves to share those experiences. And anytime we share experiences of what actually happened to us as a result of FGM, you have lots of other young women and women willing to share their stories. So that's amazing. Like one story amplify the voices of many, and with that it makes greater impact.
Okay, so you're saying you've been able to inspire other people to come
also
forward.
Share their stories.
That's very
like
funny.
life testimonies. Like, and whenever I share my story, you have someone to say, oh my God, I have been through that same experience, I've been through worse experience than that. Because my story, like that story has been what is being able to give voice to someone who do not find her voice at some point. But when you share your story, the person has found her voice. And if that person also talks, someone listening to her found her voice, and that's how it multiplies, you know, that multiplier effect. So basically, this is the power of story sharing, especially through life testimonies.
Okay, so you mentioned your mom has always been there supporting you. Was she present during the time the act happened? Was she, how did it actually happen? Was her consent sought or something?
Yeah, you know, growing up in a family that practiced female genital mutilation for centuries, like having your mom, your siblings pass through the same thing, so she thought it was normal. So I have to also pass through the same thing my siblings passed through. So, but then...
Can we sit now?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
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 Yeah, so it was a very normal thing for my mom.
Okay.
She did not know the consequences.
Okay.
She couldn't relate with it. She wasn't aware of the devastating consequences of FGM. And I think one thing that attached her to FGM was the religious connotation or the religious justification given to the act.
Yeah.
But when I started the campaign, when I joined the campaign against female genital mutilation, like 7 years ago, she was my first target. My family was my first target.
Okay.
I had to raise their critical consciousness and expose them to information relating to FGM and its consequences. And since then, my family has been my biggest support in the campaign. And I have nieces who are now, protected from FGM, and that tells you that information and education has power to transform and change lives.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how old were you then when it happened?
I did not realize it. I did not even know I was caught. You know, when you're born into a family that practices FGM, and then you grow up, you think the external genitalia of all women are the same, until maybe if you see someone who was not gone through FGM. So I was caught. I was told I was caught when I was 6 months old.
Wow.
Yes, but I went with my mom to the village for an FGM ceremony. Like, girls were being initiated and caught, and they were, after healing, they were coming out from the circumcision chamber, and then they were dressed beautifully. This was when I was at kindergarten, and then I went with my mom to that ceremony. So I saw these girls, like they're almost my age. They were dressed beautifully. Then that was the time I asked my mom, oh my God, when am I also going to go through this? And that was the time she said, oh my child, you've been through this since when you were a baby at 6 months old. But then I'm a very, okay, we go back to light.
Okay. There's power issues.
Okay,
so
they're back.
saying, what do we do?
It's okay.
Okay.
I think that is a bit more clear.
Okay.
Yeah, than here.
Okay.
We're still live.
UN, please don't
Okay.
interrupt the slide again. So she said it happened when you were 6 months.
Yeah, so, but because I am always very inquisitive, I always want to ask questions.
Okay.
So I was growing up, I have an auntie who's been in the campaign for over 4 decades, like all her life, and she always exposed me to issues of FGM. She has played videos for me.
Okay.
So, and this has raised lots of doubts in my mind relating to FGM. And I always ask my mom, well, you know how uncomfortable our parents are talking about sex, to talk about sex and sexuality, especially something that has to do with external genitalia of a woman.
Okay.
So she doesn't answer my questions. But
so at what point at what stage did your turning point come? When did you decide that you were going to make this change about female genital mutilation?
It's when I was in like high school. I have been attending, seminars, symposiums, workshops on FGM,
Okay.
and I've been exposed to lots of information, especially the health and socio-cultural consequences of FGM. And since then, I was like, yes, I've been through this, but I think my voice is going to add to the change we are yearning for. So since then, I started raising my voice against the practice. It has been a very challenging one, having to come from a family that practice it, and then now challenging that very norm can be very challenging.
Exactly, because I was going to ask if you faced challenges and oppositions in your family and society.
Sure, especially my extended family, both my paternal and maternal family lines. They were like, your mom is cut, your grandma is cut, like your whole family is cut. Who are you to tell us to stop this? This is our religion. We are trying to preserve the virginity of our girls. We are trying to inculcate the norms and values into the girls. So stop challenging these traditions. But you know how stubborn I am. As long as I am doing the right thing, I don't care what people say. I will use the best appropriate approaches possible to convince them. I don't relent. I'm someone who never give up in trying to change people's life, in trying to change perception, especially on something that is harmful. Okay. So despite all the challenges, I never relent in my efforts. Okay. I always make sure I exercise patience, and make sure I am on top of information. When you're trying to challenge social norms and values, especially issues of this nature, you have to be someone very knowledgeable on the issue, because you will be challenged by lots of people, both religious and traditional leaders. Then you have to be someone who understands these issues very well and be able to back your arguments with facts. And this is exactly what has helped me, because when it comes to religious justification of FGM, I have made sure I offend myself with all of those issues that speaks, especially the issue of Islam and FGM, and also when it comes to socio-cultural issues of FGM, I make sure that I am always on top of information. I do extensive research. I consult a lot of people, experts, and with that, I've been able to make lots of impact in my communities.
Okay, so you spoke about the approaches and how you were able to change this narrative. What were some of the approaches you used? What were some of the strategies that you had to follow to make sure to convince your family and also to change the narrative about female genital mutilation in the Gambia?
When you're talking about female genital mutilation, you have to do it holistically.
Okay.
You don't treat female genital mutilation in isolation. It's a cultural issue. Okay. It has some other dimensions like religion. It has health complications, socio-cultural complications. So you bring all those issues surrounding the practice, and you discuss it holistically. And that's the way you do it. You don't just go to the communities and just show them or tell them the complications, health complications of FGM. You have to be able to engage them. Let them tell you the reasons why they do this. You engage in a very constructive dialogue. And then you talk about culture and how culture can change. And some of those cultures that we had here before are no more here with us. And so most of those ones are harmful. And the reason why they are no more with us is because of their harmful nature. And FGM is one of them. The fact that culture can change or culture can stop FGM is one of those that can also stop. And then you engage them, and then you also try to bring, take FGM as a human rights issue. Like when a girl is cut, she wasn't asked whether you want your vagina to be cut. Exactly. Her consent wasn't seek. Like all those are human rights issues. So FGM is a human rights violation. So you also bring the human rights phase of FGM into context. Let them understand that humans have rights. We have rights, and our bodies are our own. No one has right over our bodies than we do. So anything that is happening to our bodies, we must give permission for it to happen, otherwise it shouldn't happen. And as a result, if you cut a girl, like I was cut, my human rights, my human right to so many things, health, and so many issues have been violated.
Exactly.
So you bring all those issues, the human rights issues, the cultural issues, the religious aspect, especially Islamic dimension of it.
Okay.
Then if you bring all these issues up and then you have people listening to you, and then they are engaged in critical thinking.
Okay.
And they were like, oh my God, I think what she's saying is right.
Okay.
And then you have some of them coming up with their testimonies and saying, I thought it was like this, but with your presentation or what you've told us, we have realized it is this way around.
Okay.
And you have some of those people who are once like pro-FGM campaigners, like saying FGM must continue, now coming to your side as your allies to say, I am in support of your campaign, I want to join you to raise awareness that FGM is not a religious obligation and it has devastating consequences on the life of women and girls.
Okay. So I have just 3 questions to ask now. So far, what has been the impact of what has been the reach of your impact? I know you talked about the change within your family. Has there been change nationally in the Gambia, or has it just been within your region or within your family?
In my work as an FGM campaigner, I have traveled the length and breadth of the Gambia. The Gambia is not big as Nigeria.
Okay.
One state of Nigeria is bigger than the Gambia. It's just 1.8 million.
Okay.
Small in both size and in population-wise. So it's very easy to reach people across the length and breadth of the country. And this is exactly what I did, what I have been doing. I have been to the remotest communities of my country.
Okay.
I have touched so many lives across the country. It's not only in my family or in my region. I've been able to, collectively with my organization, we've been able to reach out to almost everyone of the population. Both
so has the government set up policies to criminalize female genital mutilation? How have they accepted this change?
The FGM campaign, the campaign against FGM has been ongoing in the Gambia for over 32 years, since 1984.
Wow. And
campaigners, including myself, have been advocating for a law to criminalize female genital mutilation since I joined the campaign, and there were others who have been doing it all their lives. But fortunately for us, we got a law against FGM in December 2015. And it's now, because the Women's Act 2010 was amended and now called the Women's Amendment Act 2015, we have provisions criminalizing FGM. But Peter, believe me, law alone cannot stop FGM. Yes, we welcome the law because we've been yearning for it for a very long time. But having the law in place is not going to stop us to still go to communities and educate the people to know the consequences of FGM, so that they can voluntarily say, we have understand its consequences and we have stopped it. Because we have seen the impact of the law. It has an impact, yes, but it has caused some backlash to the campaign. Like, since the coming of the law, parents have been cutting girls of 1 day old babies, 7 days old babies. So they've been doing it clandestinely on the ground without anyone knowing. Because in the Gambia, everyone is related. It's a very small country. So no one wants to report anyone, even if you know about it. And the law has a section that talks about reporting, like you will be liable to an offense if you do not report. But people are not reporting because no one wants to say, she was the one who reported me, or he was the one who reported me. So that's why we are having the law, but we are engaging and popularizing the law at the same time, telling people that there is a law in place, but also educating the people to understand the consequences of FGM. So the two are going simultaneously, popularizing the anti-FGM law as well as educating the people to understand the negative impact of female genital mutilation. So it's not only about having the law and fold your hands to think that communities will stop. No, we have that experience, because we will take the example of Senegal, our neighboring country. Senegal had a law since 1999, but FGM is still practiced in Senegal. The Gambia, just 2 years ago, we had this law. So we are not going to relent. We are not going to fold our hands and say we have the law, so people will stop, because people are not stopping. People are still doing it. So we'll continue educating the people. We are not going to get tired of educating the people. Yes.
So I'm going to ask 2 questions in one now. First of all, how happy are you with the work you've done so far? Are you satisfied? Do you still feel there is more to be done? And then what current projects are you working on?
Peter, people will always tell me you are doing a great job, you have done great things, but for me, I haven't done anything yet. I have not even started, Peter. It breaks my heart with all this work that we are, organizations and government is doing to make sure people stop FGM. People are still cutting girls. Every day we hear stories of girls being cut. And to us, even if one girl is caught, that is a backlash to the campaign.
Exactly.
It breaks our heart to hear stories, to hear, unconfirmed reports of girls being caught every day. Like, have we done enough? What is going wrong? What should we do? And to us, we still have a lot of work to do as far as harmful traditional practices like FGM and child marriage is concerned. So, at the Girls Agenda, we are implementing series of projects, both on FGM and child marriage. Our main target groups are young people, especially we have this project called the Madrasa Engagement Project, where we engage the Arabic school students. In the Gambia, many people do not bring them forward in the FGM debate, child marriage debate, Arabic school students, because they are in the Islamic schools, and we all know the narrative or the debate around FGM, child marriage, and Islam. So people always leave them behind. So we said, these are future imams, these are future religious scholars. Let us engage them in this debate, because they are going to be the people who will convince people that FGM is a religious obligation if they do not know the consequences of those practices. So let us bring them. So since 2015, we've been engaging the Arabic school students, and it has turned out to be one of the most innovative ideas the Girls Agenda have implemented. Like, they really appreciated it. They were like, we were left behind from information. We were not given this information. You people are doing great. We would love this to go across the country, and this is exactly what we are trying to do. We are trying to make sure this project called the Madrasa Engagement Project to go across the Gambia, so that everyone will be on board. No one will be left behind in the campaigns against FGM and child marriage. And another project that we are implementing is called the project called Instill Hope Back to Teenage Mothers. Like, you had a bit about my story as a survivor of teenage pregnancy, and in the Gambia, when you fall a victim of teenage pregnancy, the society is telling you that the future doesn't hold anything bright for you. So at Girls Agenda, we thought it wise to engage young women, young mothers, to tell them that the future still holds brighter things for you. So we instill hope back to them. We train them on their rights. We train them to understand their bodies and how their bodies function. We also, provide mentorship and coaching services to them, especially to some of those young mothers who want to go back to school, and some of them who do not want to go back to school but want to engage in small-scale business, for instance, be entrepreneurs. We also connect them to other entrepreneurship organizations, so that it will build their entrepreneurship skills, so that they will engage in business, because we believe that when a woman is economically empowered, her risk to abuse and exploitation reduced drastically, and the vicious cycle of poverty within her family also breaks. So that is actually a contributing factor to ending poverty.
So you mentioned you got pregnant at 15. So how did the society see you then? How did they accept you? And how were you able to get back on your feet to go back to school and get your degree? Because I know a lot of young girls these days, when they are caught up in teenage pregnancy, they lose hope. So I'm hoping that by your response, they will be encouraged.
Peter, I have this slogan I call from nobody to somebody, from grass to grace, from a loser to a winner. You know, when that happened, people called me all sorts of names. I've been discriminated upon. I've been stigmatized, Peter. It has not been easy. Like, I went back to school, people were pointing fingers at me to say, oh my God, she was the one who got pregnant. You know how traumatizing that. Not many people can contain that.
Exactly.
It's very difficult. It has been a very, very devastating experience for me, to be honest with you. But one thing about me, I am very strong. I do not allow anything to get on my way of getting to my goals. And this is what actually helped me: determination, dedication, and commitment. But like I told you earlier, the moral support I got from my mother and my family also contributed a lot to my success. And today I am here roaming the world, Peter. From the US, I'm going to Denmark for another very important conference called Unleash SDG Talents.
Oh, Unleash! I'm
going to unleash. Oh my God!
You got into
I know.
Unleash.
I got
Oh my
into
God, I'm
Unleash,
so happy
Peter.
for you.
I know.
I'm so happy
flying
for you.
here from New York today to Copenhagen.
Exactly, because I was also thinking, how was I going to make it?
Oh my God,
Ah,
Peter, you were supposed to go to Unleash,
I was supposed to go to Unleash.
and then.
And I was also supposed to go to Ethiopia, but
Oh my God, Peter! It would have been a great
I'm so happy
experience
to
with
see.
you.
Oh my God, oh my God, oh my
Oh,
God.
I know. So, Peter, my story is what is making me roam the world.
Yeah.
Like if I'm writing my applications, like see something online, I think I always get lucky to be selected in most of the applications because of my story. My story always reflects in my applications.
Exactly.
So you can see the power of my story, and I've shared my story across the world, and I've seen how it is impacting on other people's life. I've shared my story online. You go to Girls Not Rights web page, you will see my story from grass to grace, a young feminist shaping the global agenda. I've shared my story on Orchid Project web page. I've shared my story on BBC, Al Jazeera, and other news channels, Peter. So I am trying to reach across the world. I have, Peter, there are millions of girls who have been through the same thing I've been through, but cannot find their way out. But maybe when they listen to my story, or when they watch my story, that will inspire them to say that the downfall of a man is not the end of his or her life. There's always light at the end of the tunnel, Peter.
So finally, this is a very controversial question. Someone just typed it when I was interviewing you, and the person is asking, do you think cultures, African traditions also, and people who engage in it should also stop male circumcision?
Peter, male circumcision, we do not say it should stop. Like they will say it is a condition. It's like it is an obligation in Islam. I'm a Muslim.
Yeah.
But even
Christians also
exactly do practice it.
Yeah, but people are looking at it now from the angle of
human rights.
Like what's an opposite, and then you have female genital mutilation. So that means if you're going to stop it, that means also male circumcision.
Peter, I've had that question several times. Tell that person I'm going to answer. I'm going to do justice to his or her question.
Please do.
You cannot put male circumcision and female genital mutilation in one basket. They are completely different practice or acts. Female genital mutilation, what is removed is a healthy organ. It has about 8,000 nerves ending.
Wow.
Very rich in blood supply.
Wow.
It has specific roles and function in a woman. So it shouldn't be touched because it's healthy. What is removed from a man is just the prepuce, the foreskin, and it makes it so nice and it's healthy, because when it is not removed, when a man is having sex, you'll have to like push it back for you to comfortably have sex with your wife, for instance. And after that you have to wash it clean, because if you leave it, like if there is any infection, germs or bacteria, it will hide under the foreskin, and you can infect your spouse or your partner with whatever bacteria or infection you have. So according to WHO, World Health Organization, male circumcision has lots of health benefits. So you cannot categorize it with female genital mutilation. According to WHO, FGM has no health benefits, so you can't put the two in the same basket. So I'm just telling people that yes, we are campaigning against female genital mutilation, and we are not saying no to male circumcision, because they are not the same. The procedures are completely different, and male circumcision has its benefits while female genital mutilation has no benefit.
So guys, I think that's all we'll take today. Thank you, Aissatou.
Thank you, Peter,
for granting this interview. I'm so very grateful.
It's a pleasure.
And I hope to see more of you and connect more of you and hear so much about your success stories.
Thank you.
So it's me, Peter, signing off from the Youth Assembly at the United Nations. I'll be in touch with you later. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.